cool. And hopefully people will just jump on, but just to make sure we kind of stick to time. I'm learning to stay in time with my things. So I think we should kick off with the people that are here. Good evening, everybody that is here. Ladies, no gents, yes, ladies. Good evening and welcome to our first edition of the Dope Black Girl sessions. And I'm so excited that the guests that I've invited today, I think they're just perfectly fitting for this evening and for this series. If you know these twins, you know that they are the definition of dope. And I think anybody who's interested in running or wants to get into running, these are the ladies you should get in touch with. Just before I introduce the co-hosts, guys, I just want to quickly go through the ground rules. If you've never been on one of these sessions, please keep your mics muted just throughout the session. Any comments, questions, just to put in the chat box, and we'll go through the session. We'll go through those comments and questions throughout the session. And just to let you guys know, the session is being recorded for my own personal use and for other people to sort of see it if they do miss tonight's session. And then we will have a sort of 30 minutes or about 25 minutes at the end of the session where you can unmute yourself and you just raise your hand and you can ask the co-host some questions. So yeah, that's it. I'm really excited, guys, for the ladies that are on the are joining sub-sessions tonight. It is the twins, Zama and Zonke Mthethwa, who are the founders of an all-women running movement. And I love that they called it a movement and not a club, because a running club also just seems like, you know, something you sort of tune in and out of. Whereas a movement is something that you believe in, something you're passionate about, something you live, breathe, and believe is your passion. And I think Zama and Zonke live and breathe this womanhood, the sisterhood movement in every day that they sort of in their purpose. So I want to welcome them, but I just want to find out from everybody that's on the call, what are you sipping on tonight and why? And if you could pop that into the chat box, that would be really cool, just before I let my co-hosts go in. So what are you guys sipping on? I'll just tell you guys, I'm sipping on a non-alcoholic Sauvignon Blanc tonight, but it is a wine beverage, just without alcohol, just because my husband and I are just fasting this month, so I'm not on any alcoholic beverages. So that's what I'm sipping on, and it's very refreshing and very delicious, and that's what I'm sipping on. So if you guys could write in the chat box, what are you sipping on, whether it's tea, juice, coffee, bubbly, and why are you sipping on that? And then I'll just introduce, while you guys are writing your comments, I'll introduce my co-hosts. And I'd like to ask Zama and Zonke, please, to just tell us a little bit about yourselves, but mainly about why you felt you needed to start the pack. Yeah, so just briefly, each of you could share that with us.
Awesome. Hi, Zami. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. I think it's always great to be able to catch up and chat to women that are doing amazing things in their respective spaces. And this is such a great initiative. You know, I've only heard positive things about what you're doing here. So thank you for having us on your platform. Zama?
Oh, you
okay, so yeah, yes. I'm Zonke. Sorry, I always take for granted that people know who you are because she's so popular and people know me as anyway, I'm Zonke, co-founder of the Pack Running. And the Pack is an all-women's running movement that was established to create a safe and inclusive space for women to run. I think anyone who has come to any of our runs knows just how diverse the group of runners is. So we have Black women, we have Asian women, we have colored women, we have white women. And I think that's very good to say, you know, this is a space for us, you know, to kind of all come together in this culmination of us, you know, having found love through running, but also finding other links and ways to connect. And that's what kind of keeps us together. So yeah, it's a space for women to thrive over and above everything else.
I love that.
Yeah, so I'm Zama. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for inviting us, Zami, as Zonke has kind of mentioned. And yeah, I am her other half and the other part of the pack. And I think Zonke has kind of, you know, given an explanation around, like, you know, what the pack is all about. For us, I think when we initially kind of started this, it was around, you know, again, creating that safe space for women to be in, where women can really like smash their goals, where we're all coming together towards, you know, the same kind of purpose, where we want to see each other win, I think, more than anything. It's, you know, always hard, I think, as, you know, runners, that first run is always difficult for all of us. And then, you know, it's always intimidating coming to a space where you don't know what to expect or what it's going to look like. So we kind of wanted to create a space where, you know, everyone kind of feels comfortable to be like, okay, I'm going to have my first run. You have someone that's there to kind of guide you and, you know, take you through that first run and kind of see your progress through. You know, I think it's one thing starting and, you know, a lot of people don't find themselves finishing. So it's like, how do I get better at this? And with the, you know, the necessary tools and help that we can kind of provide.
I love that. That's very true. So the first run is definitely the hardest, but even just to bring it closer to home around lockdown, even running I've been so lazy. Like I was sharing with you guys the other day, you know, some days you just have days where you're like, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to run. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to, you know, sit on the couch and eat popcorn all day. So I want to know from each of you then, you know, how has lockdown been for you? And just more specifically, what is making you feel overwhelmed and anxious at this moment or just during this time?
Yeah, lockdown has been a lot. I think there's been a roller coaster of, you know, emotions. You have good days, you have bad days. There are days where you're like, hey, I'm so happy to be actually working from home. You know, I'm loving my space or whatever the case may be. And then some days you feel like you've got cabin fever and you just want to like break out. So there's been a lot of that. And I think, you know, things have changed and the world isn't as we used to know it. So the pressures are kind of mounting up, like work is hectic. It's just, yeah, a lot of things coming together and kind of, you know, the pressures feel very kind of intense, if that makes any sense. So it's just, you know, finding ways to kind of work through that, to kind of manage the anxiety, manage the stresses, manage the low days, and just, you know, keep pushing and thriving and make it out to the other end. But yeah, it is a constant battle, I think. And I think, you know, through touching base with numerous people, a lot of people are feeling this way. It's not just an isolated thing that I may be feeling and Zama's not, or whatever the case may be. Even with us on the call, I think a lot of people can identify with that and say, hey, flip, I've been feeling some kind of way myself. But yeah, that's the majority of it. I think lockdown has been very trying. We've never been through anything like this. And we need to remember to be kind of, you know, kind to ourselves, you know, and understand that it is, you know, something that we're constantly going to be working through, and know you can't find the perfect mechanic to kind of work through this because you've never been through this before.
For sure. And everybody, right? So like you might be feeling you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do. You want to call a friend, but a friend is also doesn't know what to do because they're going through their own journey. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think for me as well, like it's not any different to what Zonke is kind of feeling. I think, yeah, you have those days where, you know, you're feeling like you can take over the world and it's like you wake up in good spirits, you're blasting your music, you go for that run and you literally feel like you can take over the world. And then there's days where you're just like, am I even going to get out of this bed? Like, what's going to happen? You know, like the anxiety is literally crippling you. And I think it's just been hard. I feel like personally, from my perspective, I kind of went into lockdown with so much, and it's actually quite similar to you, Zami, where I got retrenched at the beginning of lockdown. So already that in its own was just like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I didn't kind of expect to be going through this. And now I'm having to navigate through this. I thought I'm going to be working. Yes, things have changed, but, you know, the industry that I'm in happens to be one where it's live events and it's like scale and festivals and that type of thing. So it obviously didn't make sense that we were going to be operating during this time, but, you know, you're quite positive and think, okay, maybe we're going to be working through the marketing plans, or I don't know, there's other ways of kind of making it work during this time. So, you know, when that bomb kind of happened and it's like, okay, cool, you're retrenched now, I was like, okay, cool. So what does adapting mean? Like, when's the next opportunity gonna come? Like, what does it look like? And I was saying to my sisters, I've pretty much done everything you can imagine during this lockdown, guys. Because I've literally navigated through every single thing you can.
Pivot, girl.
Like everything you can imagine, I've done through this lockdown. So I think it's kind of, that's how I kind of, you know, tried to remain sane. Yeah. It's kind of like literally putting my hand in every single pie. Like, I'm going to try this out. Like, you know, there's things that I wanted to do for a very long time. And I never had the time because I felt like my life is go, go, go. I was always at an event, so I had to go here and I had to, you know, I was constantly all over the place. And there's never been a better time than now to really be, you know, investing that time and, and doing those things that I never had the opportunity to do. But yeah, again.
Yeah. and just being on, sorry to cut you off, and just being on different sides of, Zonke is working and she's very overwhelmed with work. You're not at the moment. You're trying to find a whole bunch of things. So how are you guys sort of finding your energies, like just amongst yourselves, just, keeping each other going? Like, your sisters at work, you obviously, following passions and being active and doing other things. So, how are your energies like at the moment? Just trying to keep, how do you guys sort of engage around motivating each other and other people as well?
I think it's a big thing. She gets really annoyed because I call her and text her 20 times a day, and I'm like, are you okay? Did you wake up fine? Is everything, so like for me, I've always been that person though also, like I'm a person who constantly checks in, and I'm a person who constantly wants to know how everything is. And Zonke is the opposite. Zonke is very like, she keeps herself, and she's not so much on the stop checking up on me 20 times a day, like I'm okay, and I guess again it's like that reassurance, knowing that the other person is okay. I think I'm able to kind of navigate through things quite easily, where this one you just never know really.
No, I'm fine. You know what I found is we actually feed off one another, which is great, because if she's got an idea about something, she'll come to me and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or whatever the case may be. Oh, I'm feeling a bit nervous about doing this. And I'm the person who'll be like, hey, no, go for it, do it. You're amazing, giving her the reassurance she needs. And like when I'm feeling overwhelmed, she's always the person who's checking in to make sure that I'm fine. So I kind of feel like, yes, we are going through different like kind of parts or kind of different situations at the moment, but that has helped us be able to best help one another too.
For sure, I love that.
Where she's got time, she's able to kind of check in on me, but where she needs kind of, guidance, whatever the case may be, I'll be there to kind of lead her on the right track. Yeah. If you get what I'm saying. So it's a bit of a payoff.
Yeah, it works. And it's funny because I think like most twins that I've met or people meet, they always expect you guys to be the same, right? I mean, obviously because like you're twins, and then people, your mom dresses you the same maybe while you're growing up, and then people almost want to see you exactly the same all the time. So I think you guys are one of the twins that I know that are you're different in your own ways, and I love how you're saying that your synergy sort of work together, which is amazing. But just coming back to the series, so it's Women's Month, and there's been a lot of things happening in the news, a lot of we're all feeling sort of anxious, and I mean, I don't know, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling overwhelmed about a lot of things, and I'm sure a lot of people are. But what is your view around Women's Month? Because I don't know if we're celebrating Women's Month. I don't know if I'm like marching and singing like, yay, Women's Month and Women's Day. And I don't know if it's, and I'm not saying we've come a long way, but I don't know if I'm saying we're celebrating enough of being a woman, equality, how far have we come with gender-based violence, how far have we come with sort of equality, gender pay, a whole bunch of things. So are we celebrating Women's Month? How are you guys feeling? I mean, I know we're in lockdown, so I mean, it's a different Women's Month. We're not at like functions and festivals and dressing in pink and white at work. Like what, how are you guys feeling about Women's Month? And even everybody on the call, if you could also just write in the chat box, how do you feel about Women's Month and, coming up to Women's Day this weekend? Are you feeling like, yay, happy Women's Day? Or are you feeling like, I'm not really sure? So yeah, for you guys, how's, what are you guys, your thoughts around Women's Day or Women's Month?
Yeah, like for me, it's like, I kind of feel like every day that we exist or every day that we're doing what we do is a celebration of women. So like, for me, Women's Month doesn't actually change the narrative in any way, but I kind of feel like there is something very disingenuous about like how brands go about, targeting the whole Women's Month thing or the Women's Day thing, because now everyone comes out in their numbers and they're celebrating us and they're speaking about women, etc. But like when we need for the conversations to be ongoing, people are nowhere to be found, And in as far as, kind of amplifying Women's Month, like, are we addressing the issues that need to be addressed? Like, are we bringing those to the fore? Are we looking at, creating and finding solutions? What is government doing? It's not enough for them to make noise on that one day and then they go quiet again. So if those kind of actions don't come with a solution, I'm like, is there really a need? Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So up until such point that we can get to a point where we're actually making impactful change and we're seeing a difference and we're seeing, people actually going the distance as opposed to just, talking the talk and not really walking the walk, Women's Month to me is just another day, and we'll continue doing whatever we're doing to bring women's plights to the fore, however we can manage to do that. So yeah, it's not a day of celebration, but if we can scream a bit louder with a bit more support, then hey, let's do that.
For sure.
Absolutely. And I'm in agreement with Zonke. I think I was actually saying this to you earlier, that, you know, it's so sad that it has to take Women's Month to kind of be, you know, women to be celebrated. You know, as a DJ myself, Women's Month is the month where everyone comes out from the woodworks to be like, oh, can we please get a mix? Can we please get this? And I'm like, but guys, the whole time I've been here, no one was saying anything. But all of a sudden, you want to work now and you want to be doing things. And again, I'm just like, why is it that it has to be, you know, a once-off thing? Why does it have to happen in the month of August? Why can it not be a thing that's ongoing, where, you know, women are constantly, you know, driving so much change and have such a huge impact on so many different levels, you know? So why is it that it comes only now? And like, yeah, so I'm in agreement as well. Like, I just don't think what we do is affected by, you know, Women's Month. I think it's a continuous journey for us. We're constantly, you know, thriving to, you know, be better every day. So yeah, it's Women's Month. Yay. But yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything. And you know, I was reading up something around Bonang actually has launched and she wants to launch an app around, you know, women, gender-based violence with women.
Sure.
So it was one thing I was thinking about, and I was like, okay, cool. That's, you know, in the situation that we're kind of in right now, women are obviously, you know, a massive target, and the things that are happening to us, it's just, it's unexcusable, you know. So with someone like building an app of this kind in the kind of place that we're in as a country, it's good and great, and it could be, you know, something that could possibly work. But, you know, when I think of something simple as like, okay, I could go for a run, should something happen to me, before I can even get to this app, I've got to, that photo would have been taken by the time I even get to even do anything, you know? So it's just kind of like the thinking, it's like when even people are thinking of solutions and what we could possibly be doing for women, but like, is it a solution at the end of the day? Do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't land the way you'd want it to land.
Yeah.
You know?
And it almost feels like gender-based violence also, like, it comes and goes, right? So like at some point it's like on the news for like the longest time, and then it's like then it's silence, like as if it just
we're going through the silence again now. It's like, oh, okay, we've forgotten now. Sorry, guys.
Until December again, like 16 days. Then we have to remember, oh, right, okay, 16 days of activism. Then we have to be like, oh my gosh, that's so sad what happened to whoever. But I think, guys, even with the brands that you work with, I mean, do we not need to hold them a bit accountable? I mean, so if Nike running, let's say, for example, I mean, I was using Strava as an example when I spoke to you guys the other day, that, you know, brands that are obviously trying to own the running space or be in the running space now, because it also felt like running also peaked at some point. Like, it became the thing to be a runner, and it was like a big culture thing, and, you know, it became quite a cool thing to be a runner. Brands like can't just want to now be in this running thing, right, without making it their business to keep runners safe. So I know when I run, if I'm running past a group of booties or like people, like too many, or somebody who looks, I run really fast because I'm like, okay, let me just this last burst of energy, let me just quickly run really quickly.
Oh, I've got to move. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, Strava only has the thing of you can send a text to, you know, your emergency contact, or you can, you know, location or whatever the case is. But, you know, that shouldn't be our reality. So I'm just trying to figure out, maybe we got to hold, you know, like Nike or Total Sports or whoever it is, more accountable to make sure that the safety of women runners is their business, right?
It's like if something is on an app on a phone, like we've got to be, so you're not only fighting them hollering and saying, well, now they're going to take the phone. It just doesn't, you know, there's so many barriers and so many things that we need to consider. And I think, is it something that you put within a phone? Is it within your watch? Because like now, we've grown accustomed to not even running with our phones anymore because we're scared that they're going to take our phones. Do you put something within the watch that's, you know, there's a panic button of sorts there, which is, you know, not as, you know, as obvious.
Yeah.
And then they're able to kind of locate, because, you know, watches have GPS as well. They're able to locate where you are. I don't know what that looks like, but, you know, I guess brands haven't, you know, invested that much into, you know, runners' safety on that level anyway.
It's true. It is the point where we were even ideating around an app for women runners and just thinking about what that would look like. you get what I'm saying? Because it is a constant worry. And I think with lockdown having, taken place and women being forced to run by themselves, the risk is amplified. You know what I'm saying? So, and we can't get to a position where we're saying, don't run because it's not safe. Because now it's like feeding into the ideology that, people are now restricting or implying what women can and can't do. So in order for us to maintain and hold our power, we need to go out there because, hey, running makes me feel good. So no one else can dictate how I move in this world because they're making it unsafe for me. But also, what can we do to safeguard ourselves? Like you were saying, like the whole, panic button thing, perhaps that's something to look at. Maybe even not having to be in the actual app to activate it off, whether it's just holding down a button on there to kind of set it off, whatever the case may be. I know there is tracking on the apps as well, whatever the case may be, but like, is it enough? It's not enough.
And in a real situation as well. Like, I mean, if you're getting robbed, it's got to be something really quick.
Exactly. It's about around what that looks like and what the solution here is.
So, I mean, just speaking, Zonke, just as you're saying how important running is to you, and because I want to lighten up the mood a bit, running is, like you're saying, it makes you feel good, but I'm sure it does much more than that. I mean, there's lessons you learn from running, discipline, endurance, self-talk, like a whole, like you got to hype yourself up when you run, you got to like hype yourself to get your sneakers, wake up when your alarm goes off. There's a whole process, right? So besides feeling good, because I think I only feel good afterwards, to be honest, like, yes, I did it, like I ran, but I don't feel good doing it. But just for you guys, I want to know, what are maybe just some of those lessons you've learned from running, and sort of what are those lessons you've obviously taken into, your life, career, relationships, because I think it's more than just it makes you feel good, right?
No, absolutely. I think the key one for me is like resilience. I think, having made the decision to move to like ultra marathons, it takes a lot from a prep perspective. And I always say this to people is the preparation is actually harder than race day. Committing, 6 months out of the year to training consistently, come rain or shine, whether it's hot or cold, it's winter, whatever the case may be, going out at 5 a.m. to go and get your run before you go to work. All those things taught me a lot about resilience and like, holding myself accountable, if you get what I'm saying. Like sometimes, we deem something too difficult to achieve because we don't feel like we can be disciplined enough to do it. So I think that taught me a lot about discipline, how much I can put myself through and how much I can put my body through. And just really, setting the bar that high, and making sure that I achieve whatever it is that I set my mind to. I was speaking to someone the other day and they said, what motivates you? And I said, when someone tells me I can't do something, that's my biggest motivator. Wow. And I think the biggest thing, that motivated me to get into ultra running was this thinking that it was for a certain caliber of runner, and you have to look a certain way and you need to be a certain type of runner. And I was like, you know what? I want to do this and I am going to do it. And I did it twice. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's what it is. It's just like, me being able to kind of tear down any kind of self-doubt, and just pushing through it and making whatever I want to make happen. So
I mean, it is intimidating for people that don't like run. So I mean, when I started, so I've joined, you guys know, Fat Cats, but it's intimidating when you see runners like from the outside. So one, I mean, I know even with the Nike running club, before when it was, when I used to go to Rosebank, everybody's dressed like matching Nike outfits, like people are stretching, like it's a whole, people are, and if you're someone who's sort of on the outside and you just like, maybe I'll just run 5 kilometers, it's very intimidating. And I like the fact that you said you have to set your own goals, your own, your own bar. You don't have to sort of say, okay, Zama is doing this, or, now you're trying to obviously compare yourself, but it is very intimidating for someone who comes and joins and sees either there's like a look or everybody's got a Garmin and maybe you've got like some other watch, or you not, and you feel maybe like you're not really dressed the part because you're actually wearing your gym clothes, not your running clothes. So like it's a whole, so it is quite, I won't lie, it is intimidating. But I think once you kind of get into it and you're in your own, you're in competition with yourself actually, ultimately. You get a little bit more comfortable. And I think that's something I've also learned, is that you're in competition with yourself. Like when you go to a race, as much as there's like a whole bunch of other people, they're also just looking forward and they don't care about you. They just like, I'm here to do my race for me, not for you, not for, obviously besides the people that want to win and win money. But
and I was about to say it's something to interrogate, because I kind of feel like there's this cookie cutter, you know, perception of what a runner is. Like when you look at Runner's World, and this is a big thing, like worldwide, where, you know, the face of running looks a particular way,
For sure.
and it's not representative of like who runners are. Like there's like skinny women who run, there are bigger women who run, there are normal sized women who run, curvy women who run, whatever the case may be. But like you only see that one image. And I think that also perpetuates the stereotypes and the thinking to say, you know, people feel like imposters, because it's like, but when I look at like what runners look like, they don't look like me.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think it's really important to create spaces like this and actually show people to say, hey, you know, this is what running looks like. I think we're very intentional about that. And as far as, you know, the women that we actually put on the page as well, to say, hey, you know, these are runners, you know.
They look like me and you.
Exactly, you know, because it is very like, very, and I want to say this, very pasty and very white and very, you know, but when you look at those publications, there aren't women that look like us, or there aren't enough women that look like us. And I think that's something that needs to change. And I think once that changes, perceptions will change too. And I think it'll be a more inclusive space, and people will see more room for themselves within running.
For sure. I like that. I mean, I think about like, when I started, like 10Ks was the biggest thing. Like, yes, I ran 10Ks. And then I couldn't get through that, like, transition to go from a 10K to a 21K. It was the hardest thing. It was like, why can't I couldn't just, and for me, 21K was like this huge thing, and I couldn't break through. But because I had this idea of what a 21K person looked like, but also like this idea of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to run for like 2 and some hours. I was like, okay, no, that doesn't sound joyful, you know? And then, you know, you break through. But I think that then when I broke through into 21Ks, it was like, there's more people that look like me, there's that don't look like me, there's like mama, there's like, you know, there's everybody, you know. So it's like, actually, the only thing holding you back is yourself, because you keep telling yourself like, oh, I don't look like this, or you know, I can't do it, or whatever the case is. So actually, I like that. So now I'm actually like, okay, so comrades maybe isn't so bad.
Well, we'll do it the same year, Zami. We'll do it the same year.
2025.
My hey?
Never tell yourself no. Like, you can do it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, Zama, you got to answer the question. Lessons learned through running, and yeah, what are you carrying with you?
Sure. I think for me, like running has, it's my sanity. I think more than anything, I think running literally got me through some of like the hardest times in my life. And I think that's when I actually became a runner, was when I was literally going through a period where I was actually depressed. I'd literally moved to a new city. Lungelo, who's on here, will know I'd moved to Cape Town. And I kind of had this massive plan in my head and an idea around what the city was going to be like. I'd, you know, started a new job, a new city. And I think when you go to Cape Town in the summertime, it's amazing. The beach is great, late sunsets. It's just a dream. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what is this life that I'm living, you know? And I think that, you know, was like a big thing around like, oh my gosh, like an amazing life. But then it soon kind of dawned to me that, you know, as much as I had like 2 of my closest friends in the city, there was something that I just didn't gel with me in the city. Like, it just didn't make sense. I just felt lonely, even though I had 2 of my closest friends. I don't know whether it was like the people. Yeah. I never found myself in that place. And I think it soon kind of created a problem. I was literally calling home every 5 minutes. Literally, Zonke was sick of me. She was like, Zama, you literally call 20 times a day. And I'm like, dude, like, I'm going through something, you know, where like every 6 weeks I book a flight home because I'm like, I can't. Like, I literally am going to lose my mind here. So it was a very, very tough time. And at the time, it was actually a friend of mine who just decided to do like a challenge on Instagram. And he just started posting this like 5K a day challenge. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, let me just try this thing out. What's the worst that could happen? If I don't make it through that 5K, I'll walk it. Like, I don't know, let's see what happens. And I remember putting on my running shoes that day, and I was like, okay, cool, let's go. And yeah, I went on this run. And I mean, of course, I was like coughing and huffing and puffing, and I was like, whoa, what did I just get myself into? But like the idea of just kind of getting fresh air, and I just had that sense of freedom, and I just felt like I forgot my problems for those 40 minutes that I was on the road. And it's something that I kept on repeating, like the day after and the day after and the day after. And like, you know, before I knew it, like 2 weeks later, I was like, okay, cool, I'm getting comfortable actually at this. And, you know, I'm starting to get into the rhythm of what running actually looks like. And, you know, with work being depressing, I was not in a good space. It literally became the one thing that I used to look forward to doing after a very long day. I was like, this is where I feel like I'm alive again and I feel so good about myself. And I guess that's where like my running actually started. And it literally, that period was very tough. And I was like, okay, cool. You know what? Maybe being in the city may not be the best thing. Let's move back to Joburg. Let's see what actually happens. And I remember coming back home. Zonke had started running actually in Joburg. She was navigating through it, and I was like, dude, you know what? Like, running has literally like become this thing that I do every day, and I think we should do together. You know, like as much as you're running, I know you're not doing it as much. And Zonke was like, whatever, why are we doing this thing? Like, why, where are we going? And I'm like, let's go. And after like nights out, where we literally like coming home at 5 in the morning, I'm like, at 7, we need to go run. And she's like, what's going on? And that was something that we actually got to then, you know, bond over, and something that we got to do together, which was another part of, you know, falling in love with it too, because it was like, I get to do this with my twin sister. We get to achieve these goals together. So it became a savior in so many ways. We ran our first 21 kilometers together. We ran our first marathon together. So it's become this thing that, you know, that's kept us together and kept us going, I think, more than anything. Our adventures. And absolutely, you know, where we've traveled to go run, you know, half marathons, like we went to Berlin to go run together. And those are things that, you know, I always hold dear, because they were like great experiences, you know. And I think over this lockdown period as well, like it's just been amazing what running has done. I think, you know, the first kind of month where we couldn't physically go out and do any exercise, these workout things, we were here with dumbbells, and we were like literally NCC app, but I'm like, the number one love is running. You know, we have to keep ourselves busy with something, yes, but like, you know, running is kind of what we love to do. And I think the minute they were like, you guys can go run outside, I've never been so excited in my life. I was like, what am I wearing? It was like the best feeling ever, you know. And I think, again, navigating through this difficult time with so much going on, you know, it always feels like, even on like the toughest days, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like in Katsede and I don't know if I'll be able to go for a run. I always just think, you know, like the ability to move for me is like, it's the biggest thing. Like, I'm like, not everyone has, you know, the ability to move and be able to go for a run. So each time that you are on the road, like, you've got to be so grateful that you're able to move and, you know, and make the most of it. Like, that fresh air in your lungs, it goes a long way. And during that time, I think it really did kind of taste to me. And I think every run is special, and try and make the most of it. More than anything.
But also, it's just like, just what you're talking about, just like mental health, you know. I think, you know, running, okay, so anyone who knows my sister knows that she's like also super like runner, and like in comparison, like to me and her, she's like a super runner and very fit, and like, you know, very healthy eater and all of that. And I think even with Tutu, we used to run in Rosebank with night running. But for as long as I've known you guys, you've always been like in the movement, running, staying active. And not to say like, you know, you had to be the fastest runner. I think for you guys, it was just a thing of just being outside, being together as women, or as you know, as a community, and sort of, you know, you guys always had that positiveness about you, and I love that. And I think even when I fell off and when I fell back onto running, you know, Zama, you'd always send me a DM or be like, yay, you ran like 5Ks, or like you ran like, you know. And even if I wasn't running with like, you know, you guys in Rosebank, and I was running with like fat cats, you were still like cheering me on, you know. You were still like, you know, well done, you know, go for it, you know. So I think you guys just around the sisterhood movement and running has just been, you know, in your you know, sort of in your purpose and what you guys believe in. But just talking about that time you went through, Zama, and Zonke, you can also share, I personally feel that running has saved my life, just around, you know, sort of my mental health, not just during lockdown, through sort of family issues I've been going through, sort of navigating just different things that I've gone through as well personally. Has running saved your life? And if so, how, in what way? And you don't really have to go into sort of too personal details, but if you could share, how has running saved your life? And that could also just motivate some of the ladies on the call.
I think should I go? I think I actually told you guys about my story and how, like, you know, navigating through a new city.
Yeah,
that's where I think for me, it really like kind of saved my life. I think also you know, another time where it has actually come into play is 2 years ago. I started working for a company, and you know, the workload and the work stress that I went through in that company was one where it started affecting me not being able to go running. And with not being able to go on the road, I literally was at I was at the bottom. I was literally like, what is this? Like, my, you know, running plays such a huge role in my life, like on a daily. So if I'm not able to do the things that make me happy, like, what's the point of all of this? And I think I remember finding myself, you know, like, I started the job in January and October. It got so bad that I had to be, you know, in hospital, and I was, you know, depressed. And it's at that point where I was like, you know what, like, I've got to put my foot down. I can't put myself through this. Like, it's not fair. I'm not used to this. I'm sacrificing such a huge part of me every single day for a job, which is just not on. So it's at that point that I was like, you know what, I'm actually going to leave this place. It's not for me. It's not going to work. Yeah. And since then, I think I've always said this. I'm like, I will never, ever put myself in a position where a job takes away running from my life.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like, if it's, you know, yes, you get days where things are very overwhelming and things need to be done, but it can't be that every single day I can't take out 30 minutes to go run.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like, it doesn't work like that. So yeah, again, you know, running has saved my life, I think, plenty of times in my life. I think I've spoken on 3 occasions now, things that have kind of happened. But yeah,
it's so funny you say that, because I kind of feel like where you were then is where I found myself most recently. And like, I've had to give myself a stern talking to say, like, don't go down this path, because it was exactly that, where it's like work took over everything. And I could just see like the light kind of dimming from me, you know? So I've become very purposeful about like setting aside time for myself. And that looks like, you know, going out for a run for 30 minutes. And I can't explain how invigorating that is. You know, people always make a joke about like, why do you run so much? What are you running away from? And I'm like, actually, I'm running away from all my issues.
Like all the other things.
Yes,
yeah.
I leave the house with that in mind to say, okay, cool, now I'm running away, I'm breaking free. I'm going to go and do my own thing for like 30 minutes or whatever the case may be. And then I'll come back and I'll face it when I come back. But that's exactly it. And it's like, I got to that point where, and it's so crazy because people say there are 24 hours in the day. How can you not go out for a run for 30 minutes? And it's like, it gets so hectic that I don't even eat sometimes. So like, if I can't eat, do you think I'm even thinking about going out for a run? Do you get what I'm saying? But like, you need to prioritize yourself. Like, I think I always say, you can't pour from an empty cup. And it's not enough to keep, you know, spreading that message and sharing that with people and not practicing that yourself. So I've said, okay, Zonke, start, you know, living by the things that you're kind of preaching, you know? So like every single, you know, day this week, I've set aside time. I'm like, 30 minutes, Zonke, let's go hit the road, come back. And I can't even begin to express the difference it makes, you know? So that's what it is for me. I guess my intention, you know, in terms of getting into running was to kind of like, you know, I put on a bit of weight, you know, I was trying to lose some weight, you know what I mean? And it was a social aspect too, but like,
I'm like, what weight?
I guess you know, finding the love again and finding the purpose of running in my life and the alignment of running in my life has you know, been through, you know, trying to save myself and get myself out of a very dark hole that you know, I've allowed myself to kind of get into, and not willingly, but like it's circumstantial, but it's happened. That's the reality. But like, how do I save myself? And running the means by which I go about doing that.
Yeah, I can completely agree with you. I mean, I'm definitely a friendlier person after coming from a run, and you know, think more of a friendlier wife when I've come from a run and less combative. So I can attest to that, feeling better after a run. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. I think I want to open up. I can see there's a few comments, so I don't want to let time run away with us. But if you would like to ask a question, you got to turn on your camera, firstly. And then I'm going to ask you to either raise your hand. Let me just see if I can see participants. Yeah, so you guys can raise your hands and ask Zama and Zonke a question or comment? Anybody? Let's see. Yes, Tegofatsa. Yeah, Tegofatsa. Tegofatsa?
Hi guys. I don't use Zoom. I'm trying to navigate Zoom. So I don't have a question really, but I mean, I run with Zonke and Zama. All I used to, but Corona. But I ran with them all the time. And I just wanted to share a quick little comment because I don't think they even know this. But when I started running at the pack, it was because I was running alone and I had gotten heckled on the street by some man. And I was like, oh my God, I need to find a group. And someone pointed me to the pack. And that's how I started. And I started as the slowest runner there. And I remember Zama and Zonke, they would come behind me and I'd be like, no, guys, you guys, I'll get you there. Pambili, guys, don't worry. And they were like, no, we're not leaving you. And before I knew it, I remember showing my phone to Zonke and I was so shocked at my pace and how quick I had gotten because of the consistency of my running. I was blown away. And I mean, the pack as a whole have amazing runners that coach you and pull you along the way. There's a girl there, her name is Ntombi. I don't know if she's here, but she's, I think, what is the handle? Princess Warrior Princess. I mean, that girl took me through my first 10K and she never let me give up. And I mean, anyone who needs to run if you need to start running, I feel like the pack is the best place to start because they're so patient with you and really like encourage you throughout the whole way. So it's a really nice community and a nice movement. Definitely, I'll never leave them ever.
Yay, I love that.
Yeah.
And I hear you guys are all were thinking you're gonna have a physical run on Sunday, but virtual runs to COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you guys?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I see Musa's hands up. Musa, yay. Musa. Unmute. Musa, you gotta unmute. Okay, we'll come back to Musa when she unmutes. Anybody else that has a question or a comment? Let's see who we got in here. But I will just attest to what.
I'll say something that I'm not going to turn my video on because no.
We want to see your
Turn it on.
No, I really cannot. Anyway, so I don't have too many. I have like a question. I guess my question may be at the end, but I also am a person who, thanks to you guys, have a longer stint in running because I randomly a few years ago decided that I wanted to try something I've never done before. So I signed up for Soweto Marathon. And then I was like, okay, I have two friends that run. So I reached out to Zama and Zonke and they encouraged me to join them running with NRC. And I was like, yo, they are hectic, those runners. So I was that person where I was like, I didn't even know if I got the right running shoes. I was just going to come through with the khakis that I work out. And they're like, come through, it's okay. But I'm like, everyone's always wearing like Nike head to toe. I wear Mr. Price to the gym. And they were like, no, it's fine. It's not about what you're wearing. And I was like, everyone is so it's so intimidating. But they were like, just come every now, come as much as you can because we all got to start somewhere. Plus I'd already paid for Soweto, so it was really nice for them to kind of be encouraging. And then when I got there, it was actually nice to see that actually not everyone is actually rocking Nike head to toe. So it was actually really nice to be actually you're so intimidated and then you end up meeting so many people. And so that's why I thought it was really nice because it just became a nice community and they were really good friends to be like, girl, we didn't see you, where are you? And then also going to Braam on Saturdays, I was like, who am I? The fact that I was waking up on a Saturday morning to go to Braam to run. So I really appreciate it because I still run now. I think it's something I really enjoy. I'm in a running rut at the moment, but It definitely is thanks to you guys, like learning how, like, you know, running is such a nice thing to do. So I appreciate you guys, and I'd appreciate maybe some advice, like helping a person to kind of get out of a running rut, because it's sometimes hard to stay consistent with running, especially if you're not actually training for something. So it's like, how do you keep going when there's nothing you're training? I mean, you're training, if you want to say training for life, but I mean, it's like during this time, it's like you're so exhausted. Like you think just like waking up is already accomplishing something. So how do you like stay motivated to just run to run?
That's a good
I think it's important, Langa, to identify why you're doing it. I think, you know, for me, that's the biggest motivation. Okay, cool. If I don't do it, I understand like the kind of, you know, effect it has on me, my mood, my body, etc. So I completely feel you on that. You know, it's not the easiest thing sometimes to wake up and go out for a run, but like, you know, identifying the after effects and the reward thereafter is very important. And also, you know, understanding what it gives to you, you know, to go out and do that. You know, so I think for me, that's what it is. It's like, why am I running? Why do I run? Why am I trying to be consistent? What value do I extract from that? And then that is what actually, you know, gives me the push to get out of the door and get it done. Yeah, Zama, do you have?
I think, and I think it's like, don't put too much pressure on yourself, you know, like I think take it as it comes. It's not, you're not going to go out and go, I'm going to just go run 10Ks. Like, take it easy. Maybe you start with 2-3 kilometers first, and then, you know, you kind of build your mileage as you go along. Again, it's not, we're not in the best of times right now. It's so hard to get up and do anything. So I think just be easy on yourself, take it easy. And yeah, just move, you know, as much as you can, but at a gradual pace. So don't put yourself down, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. I think just take it easy. And I always think of what I'm doing for my body. I think when I go run, I'm like, you know, the ability to move for me is like a big one for me. I'm like, I'm just grateful that I can go out, get some fresh air. I think that's the bigger thing for me, because, you know, being indoors the whole time, we're not able to be outside like we used to. So that run is the little bit of fresh air that I can get in the day, and I get to, you know, breathe something different than being indoors. So yeah.
And to your point, I think, you know, people are so hung up on it having to be running, but like,
can be a walk.
Yeah, you need to understand that it's not how it used to be. So it is maybe just you acclimatizing and getting used to being outside again. And it may be you just getting out and going out for a 10-minute walk and coming back, you know, and then maybe when it starts feeling more natural and easy again,
you start,
get into a light jog. And then maybe start looking at your 3Ks, start looking at your 5Ks, etc. You know, I think when you want to bite the whole cake, it becomes very overwhelming.
Absolutely.
But let's get back down to basics to say, okay, Langa, you've been in the house the whole day. Let's go outside. You know. So yeah.
And I think a good playlist also goes a long way, guys. Like a bit of music whilst on your run. You know, before you know it, you're just like, oh, okay, that was 30 minutes. You're enjoying your music. I know it is a bit like hectic when you are on the road, but I think, you know, whilst we are within at the moment, you know, we're running within our complex, and it's something like, it's very hard because, you know, when you're used to being, you know, going out and you're going for 10Ks or whatever the case it may be and back, now you're having to loop to do the same distance, which, you know, plays a huge role, you know, mentally it's a lot. Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to now do this for the 6th time, you know, you're not as motivated. But, you know, I think music plays a huge role in you kind of, you know, getting through it.
Yeah.
Thank you. As I wait for you guys to make me a running playlist. Thank you.
I think I provide those.
Okay, everybody refer to Zama's Instagram page for playlists, running playlists.
Plenty. And on Sunday, there will be one for Sunday as well. So next
playlist. And then I just want to add to Shalama's got a comment here that says, adding to Noma, I think Langa's point, it's really amazing to be part of a running community, and most importantly, with the care of Zama and Zonke, to supporting every runner regardless of their pace. It really goes a long way for new runners like herself.
So and shout out to her, because she was so consistent prior to lockdown. I was like seeing her every single Tuesday without fail. Yeah.
That's amazing. Musa, are you there?
Hi, ladies. Hi. Sorry about the technical glitches earlier on. I honestly just wanted to just add my thanks. So Zonke and I, our paths crossed when we're working together at a crazy place. and at the time, I had just fallen pregnant, or I think I just ended my pregnancy, and I literally had gained like 20 kgs, right? And I kept on being like, Zonke, I want to get back into running. And she'd be like, Moose, you're going to be ready. You're going to be ready. And earlier this year, I was at a place where emotionally and physically I was ready to get back into running. And I'll never forget the day when, I think it was like my second run with the pack. And I'd been running and running and running. I think I was fitter than I thought I was, and certainly fitter than Zonke thought. And she lost track of me. Wow. And she literally like drove for like, I don't know how long, but a very long time. And eventually she found me. She's like, Mosa, I thought you were lost, but you're like up there with the leaders. Like, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know where to start. I was so frantic. And that meant so much to me. She literally was like looking for that one lost lamb, so to speak. And honestly, just she's always been so encouraging about running. Really made it so accessible to everyone. I mean, I've run many, many races for many, many years, but had been off the road for a very long time. So, and I also just wanted to thank you ladies for just being so agile during this COVID-19. I mean, you went from the couch challenge to the everything challenge to the distance challenge to it literally kept us going. And it's like, I can't wait for the next challenge, for the next run. So keep it going. Please know that it goes so far for all of us, and it means so much to all of us, So really just wanted to thank you.
Thanks, thank you, Musa.
And keep going. Musa's a beast on the road, guys. I was like, girl, look at you.
I have another comment from Tutu. I really love the way the pack incorporates cultural and historical aspects in their runs. One of the most memorable is the run to the Apartheid Museum and the talk that followed the run. Food for the soul and the body. So I missed that one, but that sounded like that was really cool.
2021.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And also how running also familiarized, if you obviously had grown up in Joburg, but you no longer used to hang out in town. You remember CBD at some point wasn't a place to hang out, and then CBD was a place to hang out, and then Nike spent a lot of money on the races happening in Joburg, right? So around Constitutional Hill, around sort of CBD. As much as it was scary at some times, you were like, ooh, some shit. but it was nice. It was nice to just be running in town. It was really nice. So yeah, Tutu, I completely agree with you. And I mean, Tutu also was like running and she'd come back and check girl, are you okay? And I'd be like,
I'm still here.
Kind of thing. And just to think that actually, Zama, you made me feel a bit better the other day when I spoke to you on Tuesday, when you were like, I'm also not going to go for a run today. I was like, great. So I'm going to go for a run. So cool. Because the whole week I've just been saying I really got to go for a run. I need to get out of the
and it's also it's listening to your body as well. It's not every single day are you going to be like, yeah, let's get on the road. If you're feeling exhausted, I'm like, okay, we're not going to do it today.
Right.
So we'll do it a day, and I'll give more of myself into it. And I think if you're in a good space when you're doing it, you get so much more out when you're done with it. And unlike you're just dragging yourself on the road as well, I always have to be in a good place to go for a run when I go for a run, and it's got to be, I've got to enjoy it at the end of the day. So if I'm not in that space, it's okay. Sit down,
made me feel great.
Fine, you'll twerk into
No, I felt great.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, if Zama's not gonna run, who am I? Who am I to go run?
Yeah.
So then I didn't run. I haven't run this whole week, so actually,
Sunday, we're all together, guys.
Sunday total sports. Yeah, I'm gonna ask you about that, but I'm gonna read in Dombi's comment. She says to Musa, and that's the heartbeat of who Zama and Zonke are. They legit leave no one behind, and have created a community that makes room for women from all walks of life. That's amazing. That's so nice. And I've also read a lot of stuff about you guys just saying that women are not in competition with each other. And that means a lot to you guys, I can imagine, especially in running and in your lives. So if you could speak quickly just around why you feel that us as women should not be leaving each other behind, and we're not competing for anything.
Yeah, like I kind of feel like it's been the narrative for like so long. It's always like being pitted against each other to say, oh yeah, women never get along, they always have issues. But it's like, that's not the truth. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's like people only choose to see what they want to see.
For sure.
Men are fiercely competitive, but like it's seen as a positive thing. However, that's not magnified. It's always like a boys' club. It's, you know, it's healthy competition. It's just how they do things. And for us, it's like now this completely negative connotation to it. Like, competition in any right is a good thing. I mean, you go into a race, if you want to win, you're going to be competitive. You get what I'm saying? But like, that does not solely define the woman's experience, and that's not all we're about. We also collaborate. We're also very big on sisterhood and supporting each other and encouraging each other and seeing each other win, you know, and also giving a bit of ourselves to make that happen. Do you get what I'm saying? So like, it was about the movement, you know, speaking to that, and allowing women to be seen through a different lens. I think it's a very unhealthy thing, you know, or an unhealthy notion to always put forth to say, yeah, we've always got to be fighting, we've always got to have beef. Like, that's not how it is. You know?
For sure. I hear you. Zama?
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with that. I mean, it's not even about that for us. It's always been like, you know, if I can be your cheerleader and I can, you know, get you through it, why can I not be that? So it's always been around being by your side. Let's do this together. Let's do it at the best of our ability. And yeah, let's all achieve our goals, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, and beyond that, also having like conversations. So like, a big thing, if you've come to any of our runs, it's not just let's get together, warm up, meet up, go out for a run, and like, okay, peace, have a great weekend. Yeah. We actually have, you know, formed a partnership with V-Day Cafe where we can go into the store, sit down, have coffee, chat, get to know each other. The third thing is, you know, to have someone running with you for God knows how long, you don't know what their name is, or you don't know what their story is, or you don't know what their challenges are, or you don't know what they do for a living. Sometimes, you know, opportunities do come up and like, you can't even think of like one person to kind of like, you know, put on. And it's like, we need to be the ones that are putting each other on. So it is our job to know what Zami does. But if someone is looking for a particular thing, I can say, hey, I know an awesome girl will be able to do that, you know? So I think that was very important to say, okay, cool. Over and above running, let's also connect, let's network, get to know one another, see what we can learn from each other, you know, and that's how the Unpack session started, you know, where women could actually start speaking about like their experiences in the workplace, etc. And I think that's very important to say, okay, cool, let's not come together and leave as strangers. Let's come together and leave knowing each other and knowing what we're about, you know, and I think that's what's made the community so strong, is we know each other on an interpersonal level, as opposed to just, oh, she runs with us, but like, I don't know who she is.
Yeah. I hear that, I appreciate that so much. And I also just like the fact that we need to, what you said about putting each other on. So you guys, like a lot of people I think who know me will say like, I know a lot of different people, but I think what's important about that is when someone says, oh, I'm looking for a graphic designer, or someone says, oh, I'm looking for a, you know, I think most of the time I can quickly sort of find in my mind or say, oh, actually, you know what, I don't know an interior designer, but maybe Zama can direct you to somebody. Absolutely. And it seems to be a currency I've kind of just carried throughout my own life. You know, I may not have been friends with every single person, but I've known enough about them to maybe connect them into some other space, which is important. And I completely agree with you that one, as Black women and Black people, we should be putting each other on to anything. So, I mean, if you like, you know, if you know an opportunity, I should obviously, you know, say, you know, Zonke, here's something I've heard about, which I love that. So I think we just all need to learn to have more meaningful connections. But just before we close, guys, I want to just read the last comment. There's a comment from Shalama who says, thank you for hosting the session. It's been motivating to hear everyone sharing their approach and experiences on the track or on the road. She's gonna go get run again. Yeah, in this tops, this was superb. Thank you, ladies. Pambili Pezulu. Oh, that's amazing. And then any last comments just before I let the co-hosts answer my last question? Is anybody that wants to say anything or ask a question? You can even ask like, how do you start running if you want to?
Hello. I'm not going to put my camera on either. I'm just going to follow Langa's because
Langa's
it's not very good here. Pardon?
I'm saying Langa's starting a bad trend.
Yeah.
Oh, no, don't. no. This is my choice, actually. Let me leave Langa out of it. This is my choice. I just want to ask a question. It's not necessarily running related, but you guys have achieved so much, you know, like from running in Bram to You know, Zama, you going to Portland, Zonke doing Comrades. You've experienced so much together, and also that amazing Nike campaign. What would you say in all that time that you've learned the most about yourself? And if you were to give advice to a young girl wanting to start a running club elsewhere, what would your advice be? So it's kind of like two questions. What have you learned most about yourself, and then the advice?
Yeah, like I think what I've learned about myself is like, and I don't want to quote a brand here, but like, and I have this on my status, like on my Instagram, like, is to go beyond. I think we always kind of inhibit ourselves to say, okay, cool, I can only go up until this point. Like, never allow yourself to be inhibited by like what your mind can't conceive, if that makes any sense. Like, I've been able to kind of navigate and find, you know, opportunities that I never thought would land on my lap, but also they wouldn't have, you know, landed on my lap had I not taken the initiative. You know, for example, I was the race producer for a race, like at 29 years old, unheard of, Black woman, young, you know, that's something that shouldn't have happened, but it did. You get what I'm saying? So like, always, impossible is nothing. So like, always set the standard so high, you know, so that if you go halfway, at least, you know, it's something to be proud of. But if you go all the way, then heck, what have you had to lose? You get what I'm saying? So let's not limit ourselves and say, you know, this is impossible, I can never achieve that, or whatever the case may be. It may be insignificant to someone, but to me, it means a lot, because if I look at where I was at that time, would I have thought that something like that was conceivable? No, but it did happen, you know. So it gives me hope and the kind of fire to keep going and to see and look forward to what the future can unfold and unravel for me. And also to go after things. I think sometimes we're very quick to kind of like shut ourselves off from things because we think, A, we're not deserving, or B, we're not good enough. Like, if you believe in yourself, like, anything is possible, absolutely anything. So that's my 2 cents.
And I think from you know, a young girl perspective, I think start. I think, you know, we always we make all the excuses not to start things. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't believe in myself. Oh, it might not work out the way I wanted to. But like, up until you start, you don't know what the possibilities are. So I think the starting part is so important. You may not necessarily have it figured out or what it's going to look like, but I think it's, you know, putting that energy and effort and being like, okay, I'm going to start. And I think it goes back to our story. I think when we started, we didn't know where things were going to be now, you know. I think a month into us even starting, it was when the first campaign even came about, because people were like, this is something we've never seen before. It's something that we, you know, that they believed in it so much that they were willing to invest in it. You know, they're like, okay, cool. Like, this is, you guys are creating a space for women that looks like this. It's something that's not been done in South Africa before. It's something that we've not seen on the continent before. And I think, you know, one of the things that even came out of the campaign, you know, like Nike was so moved by that story that something that which started out being like a campaign that was for, you know, our continent and, you know, Africa, ended up being a global thing because of how the story was told and how they'd never heard a story of this kind before. So it's all about the starting and, you know, you believing in it so much that, you know, I think the minute you believe in it, it's easier for everyone else to believe in it as well.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Very